Hi guys, my name is Annabelle.
And I'm Ben.
And we're going to be doing a tour around our tiny home to show how we sew, create and basically live in this very, very, very small space. And for this video, though the intro is being done on my nice widescreen lens camera, we've actually decided to film it on our phone because the widescreen lens does make this place seem a lot bigger than it is. And I think that you guys probably want to understand how tiny this place actually is. And actually, Ben, you measured the house earlier because we've never actually done that before.
Yeah.
How big was it?
If you took out all the walls and you just did it from side to side and end to end, it is only 29 meters squared. So it's a pretty small space. What makes it even worse is that our second floor isn't even the entire floor plan.
Hello and welcome to the tiny house. Come on in. Okay, so this is the ground floor of our tiny home. So we have the bathroom, which is the one door that we actually have, and then we have our living room and the kitchen and kind of a dining room, but we've honestly only used it to dine maybe twice since we lived here because it is just a storage shelf essentially. But let's start with the kitchen first. Now our kitchen is, as you can see, really, really small. Originally when we moved in there was actually a mini fridge where our washing machine is, but there was no washing machine, so we've replaced it with a washing machine. We've actually got our fridge, which we still have from when we lived in New Zealand, and one of my favourite things about it is my collection of, oh my gosh, I've forgotten what the word, what's the tiles called, Ben?
Mosaics.
Mosaic. So all my mosaic tiles, and they're super, super cute. And obviously we've got us at the London Dungeon, me beheading Ben, one of my first cosplays, Poison Ivy, shopping list for all of our groceries, and then you don't need to see what's inside the fridge because nothing is healthy in there. Then we have the actual kitchen area, which, to be honest, I think Ben would be better off talking about if we want to swap.
So guys, this is our kitchen, pretty tiny. As you can see, it's a style known as a galley kitchen. I personally hate it, but if I had the time and money, I would probably change it. So to start off with, it's really simple. Sink, washing up station. We had to end up buying this because when we first moved in, there was literally just a sink. There was no way to dry what we had, so we had to go out and buy one of these little collapsible drying racks, which was fine. Under here we have our standard under kitchen cabinet. It has everything from cleaning products to laundry detergent. As Annabelle said, we had to exchange the mini fridge for, as you can see, our washing machine. Moving on. Pretty much everything we cook with is in these three drawers and this drawer at the end here. And that's got our cutlery and mugs in the top, our crockery and bowls and other such in the middle one, and in the bottom, simple frying pans. So when we first moved in, we decided that because we had very little space, we would go to IKEA to see if we can find some space-saving shelving kind of ideas, and we ended up going with this, my miniature mobile spice rack, with everything from curry sauces to baking supplies to cooking stock, along with my sugar bowl. In this corner we have my extended spice rack and then my extended spice rack. We had to buy these from IKEA as well because we did not have enough space for anything. That's pretty much my kitchen setup. We have our fat fryer, we have our toaster, we have our kettle, and my coffee maker, which happens to be the most important machine in the house. Just saying. Okay, so our dining room table is often used for a storage space, and funny thing guys, I am not filming this in December. This video is being filmed well in advance, so all the stuff currently on the table is actually for the next video we're going to film, which is the unboxing of everything from when we went to Comic-Con. So if you want to see that, the link will be up here, maybe on that side because I can never remember which one. We have actually only eaten at this table twice, mostly because when we moved in we had nowhere to put our food, so essentially this entire table was our food shelf. Since then, we have since gained storage, and now it just kind of becomes a workspace. Sometimes I put my sewing machine here, sometimes it's a laptop, sometimes we just store whatever we can here. But my favourite thing about this tiny little space is this. So I actually got Ben this rack for Christmas, and essentially all it means is that we have our microwave on the bottom, and then we have all of our chopping boards just on top. Next level up is coffee, alcohol, random tins and jars, and then top is the most important shelf, which is the tea shelf. Requires very little explanation. It is tea, therefore it is important. Underneath the table we have a lot of things going on. Now, I'm not sure if we mentioned it yet, but we're actually planning on moving soon. Editing Annabelle here, and we moved. Yay! And what we've done is we've gradually started to pack things up because we know that this is going to be happening over the next few months. So these crates are all crates that we've got to put our stuff away, and at the moment they're just piled under the table. You will also see that there will be a lot of random stuff in the house, and that is because we've taken up a lot of things like my old yard boots and these horse riding boots here that we're actually going to sell just for a little bit of extra cash, which, to be honest, let's face it, we're going to be putting towards cosplay projects, and we just want the extra space. Talking of random stuff, if we come over here now, if any of you have seen videos of mine, particularly the sewing machine unboxing videos, you will know that behind all of this junk
is a original Victorian hand-carved sewing machine in its beautiful stunning case that at the moment of recording this, I am looking to restore using funds from my Ko-Fi page. Otherwise though, in front of it, we're just selling all this stuff. I've got a few dressmakers dummies, which is what this space is for. We've got our old garden chairs. Got my work backpack, which I'm pretty proud of. Card Captain Sakura, guys. How gorgeous is that? So yeah, we don't need to talk about all the junk on that shelf. Like,
we call it the miscellaneous shelf.
Miscellaneous would be one word for it. We've got wood polish, deodorant, stuff for fixing sewing machines. I've got a 60s magazine up there, handbag, cycling bag, purse, reusable bags, cat litter. We don't actually have a cat litter tray. I just keep a bag cat litter, you know, just in case.
Hey, it's good for cleaning up spillage.
You're not wrong there, to be fair. We also have one thing I really want to show off is this cute little picture, which is covered in dust. So we're gonna. And this picture, some guys, when I first moved to New Zealand, actually one of them hand painted this for me, and it's a birthday card that they did. And I loved it so much, I got it framed, and now it just comes with me into all my different houses because I like pictures that were painted for me and it's adorable. Up the top we have horse riding hat, fashionable hat, cat food and ice skates. And otherwise just all of our coats, jumpers and everything. And then like I said, the sewing machine, which is normally accessible but obviously isn't right now. Also for our shoe storage, we have this lovely thing. Now at the moment it's half empty, which is very, very rare, and it's just because me and Ben have been packing up a lot of stuff and we actually threw away several pairs of shoes that were more or less worn out. But honestly guys, this has been a utter lifesaver because it just means that we have somewhere to put our stuff. Would you guys like to see the bathroom? So guys, come into my bathroom, which is so tiny, I can literally touch both walls with my hands.
And you could probably touch the ceiling.
There we go. I definitely am that tall. So our bathroom is not the best. It's also not straight. So actually, if you look, the front of the bathroom is about half a foot wider than the back of the bathroom. But this whole house, it actually is an old foaling stable, I think. So it wasn't really built
square to begin with. But also, if Annabelle shifts out the way, I can show you the layout of said bathroom, which again, Annabelle's short as we know. I can literally touch my hand nearly flat to the ceiling. But it also means that the space in here is absolutely minuscule. Shower curtain doesn't go all the way to the floor, and I can tell you right now it's caused some problems, but I've never been bothered to fix that. And then this shelf kind of doubles as our everything extra shelf, including first aid, extra supplies and everything. And then there's our wash bag. And then our absolutely pathetic sink, which, by the way, has a great flaw. Would you like to show them, Annabelle?
So, fun fact, guys, when we first moved into this house, we actually shut the cats in the bathroom while we unloaded all of our stuff, because we obviously just didn't want them running away, wanted to keep them indoors for a little bit. And as you guys can see, it's a very tiny square room, and there was nothing in here originally, except when we came in to see the cats, we couldn't find them. And the reason we couldn't find them is because in this cupboard, it has no back.
Quite literally, guys, there is no back. And to add insult to injury, we first moved in, we put our toilet paper in said cupboard. And
toilet paper now cannot live in said cupboard because certain kittens climb into said cupboard, tear it all up so it shreds, and then just leaves it there until we notice. And the other thing about this bathroom, which I really don't like, is the fact that it has absolutely zero natural light, meaning I cannot do my makeup in here because honestly it's just too dark and it's terrible.
Not to mention the nearest spotlight to the mirror is that one there,
yeah,
which means it creates awkward shadows.
If Ben wants to zoom in over my shoulder, we'll show you what the reflection looks like, which is really not perfect, also because there's like a giant cross in the mirror, which means I either have to go here, here, or here, or here. It just does not work. So that is our weird little bathroom. So you guys might have noticed if you've been watching my videos for a while that a lot of them can be quite dark, and that is because of one reason and one reason only. Despite all of the lighting we have, there's actually only 2 windows in the house, and the front door is one of them. Front door obviously made of glass. Other people that we live next to, literally right there. So we have a hand little curtain, which we do keep drawn like 99% of the time. And at this point, I'd also like to take a moment to specially thank Amy and Emma, because this is Alan, guys. Alan, the aloe vera plant, who we were gifted upon moving in here, and I thought I killed him, and somehow he has come back to life. I am not a houseplant person, but the fact that this is a desert thing that I don't have to water makes it absolutely perfect. The other thing that we have over here is our shoe rack, which basically contains all of our other boots. All the shoes on the floor are normally in a hanging thing, which is why it's half empty. But we've got like my cowboy boots, my nice Italian boots, my fluffy winter boots, my brand new Victorian adaptable boots, which are so comfy, and I need to make a cosplay to wear these with. Haven't quite decided what it is yet, but we'll figure that one out later. They are usable and they're very nice. Honestly, the rest are just kind of normal shoes. I should probably show you these ones, otherwise Ben will get jealous. Brought him these at Olympia Horse Show, and they are the coolest thing if you want to get close up. On the other side of the doorway, we keep our regularly used hats, car keys and house keys, apron for when I do waitressing, I don't know if I've shown you guys this yet. So when I did my first, not convention, what's it called, market, there's a lady there and she had a couple of these capes, and these capes are actually from World War II and the nurses' capes, and this is now my most well-worn coat, which is pretty good because I actually bought a blue one from her as well. And essentially I got the blue one, sat down, was like, oh, I really want the purple one too. Ben went and got it for me, and actually it's the purple one that I've ended up wearing the most, and these things are made of wool, they're super warm and cozy, and it looks so nice when it's hung against the front door. We also do have a calendar, but I've got to be honest, it still says February on it, and it's about 6 months on from then, so I am a horsey person. We have a mallet made out of a polo stick, which if you're not a horsey person, you probably don't understand, but if you are, you will know that this is the coolest thing ever.
So guys, Annabelle's shown you that side of the house, the bathroom and the table, but I'm going to explain the shelving, because I'm the one who assembled all the shelving and put the shelving in its place. So this is again more miscellaneous shelving. It's got everything from parts that we need for projects all the way to our D&D campaigning gear. On this section we have Annabelle's most used sewing items such as thread, buttons, appliques and other such that she keeps in these lovely padded wallets, all the way over to our modelling stuff that we use for our 3D prints and stuff. D&D notes and patterning books here, to our camera gear stuff that sits up here, to favourite padding and wadding such that we do put in this shelf. In the shelving beneath this are things that cannot be destroyed by mice, because it's mostly Girly Bear. Sherlock brings the odd rabbit home, but Girly Bear brings the mice. She then releases said mice without killing said mice, and those mice find some way to make my life a pain, as we found out earlier this week when we came back from a convention only to find pretty much a half decomposing rat on top of my shoes. To prevent obviously mice from damaging and destroying all of our worldly possessions, we've had to limit what goes on the shelving beneath or behind the sofa. What is to the right of me is our sewing table, my PC setup, and Annabelle's genome sewing machine, so we shall move on to that next.
And the one thing Ben forgot to mention is that this corner here is where I keep my rolls and rolls of fabric. I don't know how many of you were here when I got my fan haul of cosplay supplies, but I did get a lot of rolls of fabric. This is actually only a few bits. I'm going to be getting some more to put here. A lot of them at the moment are honestly stored in the attic at Ben's mum's. The other thing that Ben forgot to mention is the fact that all up here is all of our random shelving stuff. So this is everything from spare boxes of breakfast cereal, reusable bags, kitchen towel, toilet roll, pens. I've got a mini sewing machine here. Photo from when we went to SeaWorld, that is very, very important. Some random paint and a little bit of fabric, not gonna lie. Quite a variety really, it's just a whole mess. We try not to touch it too much, but it's the stuff that we need, but we literally just don't have anywhere else to put, because unfortunately when living in a tiny home, sometimes it's just a thing, and we're very lucky that we have very high ceilings and a natural wall that seems to create a shelf on that side for some odd reason that I have yet to figure out.
We've now moved on to the part where most of our projects happen, usually on the floor in front of me or on the desk behind me. Now, I'm sometimes part of it, sometimes not. Sometimes, as you've probably all seen, I'm usually sat here, reclining in my chair, playing some game or another or watching some type of anime. On this side, you have my PC. This PC was built by me and a friend of mine who managed to procure most of the parts for him, and my monitor and my speaker system that is connected up to it. And to the right of me, we have Annabelle's sewing station, including her rollout table here, which we managed to get, which is a vintage 1960s roller table, which happens to also open up. This is Annabelle's vast collection of needles, threads. I think there's also a few embroidery threads in there, but she's also got about 3 dozen boxes of pins. And my personal favourite thing, the pin cushion I got her, which is a fried egg and bacon, Japanese style. But we shall put him away for the time being. Slots down. We then have Annabelle's Janome sewing machine, which obviously has come all the way with us from New Zealand. All of Annabelle's sewing supplies are in this chest of drawers underneath the table. You cannot currently see them because in front of it is a box of anime which I am slowly downloading onto my PC. We then move on to my favourite part, which is my monstrosity of a home TV. Now, there's a funny story that goes with this, because when we lived in New Zealand, we had our first Christmas together away from home, and we both decided that one of the things we wanted to get on the Boxing Day sales was a decent TV, because at the time we had nothing. We were using Annabelle's tablet to watch most of our films and TVs on. I mean, we were getting a little irritated with the tiny 9-inch screen that she had. So we decided that we'd wait for the Boxing Day sales and we'd go and snag ourselves a deal. We found out what kind of TV we wanted, what kind of size we wanted roughly, and we decided to go and grab one, and that would be that. However, we showed up on the day, and sorry, it's just showing my collage of photos that I've taken over the years. Anyway, we showed up to the tech store on Boxing Day, and we went into the store, we found the TV that we wanted, and there was a decent deal, and one of the store clerks came over to us to ask if we wanted to help, and we said, well, we're looking for a TV for our home. And he said, so which one were you looking for? We pointed to a Panasonic TV, which was pretty decent, and he said, really? And I went, yeah, because, you know, we're at a budget and that's the only one we can afford. And he said, well, it's funny you say that, because we've actually got a special on a Sony TV, which is just as good as this, and it comes with a sound system. We're thinking, absolutely fantastic, let's do it. The only downside that we didn't know about was the TV we wanted was a 48-inch screen. Pretty decent, you know, it's a nice size, not massive, but it's just good enough for what we wanted. Yeah, this is 72. I did most of the negotiating. Annabelle was currently looking at laptops when the store clerk grabbed me and told me about this. I said yes, bought it, and then told Annabelle, who promptly went, WTF, why is it so big? But I have never regretted such a good purchase. Anyway guys, a few weeks back we were going to the Oxfam Superstore, and one of the things I've wanted to grab since we've moved into the house was a security camera. Because our front door is only made of glass, I've always been worried that, you know, someone could just smash in, and, you know, there's a lot of expensive tech literally right next to the door, which sucks, but it's the downside of living in a tiny home. So whilst we were in the Oxfam Superstore, I spotted in one of their cabinets 3 Google Nest cameras. Now, I was a bit dubious about it to begin with, so I only grabbed one, which happened to be this one right here. I then realised just how useful it was, not only to obviously look after the house, but also so we could keep an eye on the cat. So I ended up going back and buying the other 2. Now, you can't see the other 2 right now, but we will show you them because they are currently upstairs where the cats usually bed down and snuggle down. Now we're going to the underside of the TV cabinet. We've got 2 decent drawers here, which are really useful for keeping anything we'd use for like tech cleaning products and other such. So in this drawer, Annabelle probably can't see from where she's standing, but we've got our microfiber towels, our screen cleaner, and a few other cables and such that we use for the TV. We then also keep our Hetty Hoover over here next to the TV, because unfortunately there is literally nowhere else to put the damn thing. But then, under the TV cabinet, we have a few simple items. First one is our Brother sewing machine. Now this one we use predominantly for thread painting only, just because it has a very expensive foot and it's just already set up to do it, so we can just whip it out, put our project on, and go for it. We have a few other small things. We have my vintage electric Singer sewing machine. We then have my pride and joy of my kitchen side of my life, which is my cookbooks. As you can see, the top shelf is predominantly Gordon Ramsay cookbooks, because I absolutely love Gordon Ramsay. And then we have an assortment of other favourites that I have. Like, I have my Wagamama cookbooks, which are these ones at the bottom here. I have a set of these easy cooking recipes, which I got when I was a student, and a few others here which are like vintage cookbooks.
So as well as having the cat cams over here, the other thing we have is our ironing board. It just sits against the wall, which keeps it out of the way. And then we also have fold-out chairs, and the fold-out chairs are really important because we use the chairs when we're working on the desk. But the thing is, when we're not working on the desk, we can't see the TV if we leave the chairs there, so we have to fold them up and put them away. And again, it's one of those things where living in a small house, we have to constantly be tidying, and it's why, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of my videos, everything looks messy, is because, well, when living in a small space, maybe it's just me, but it is so much harder to keep everything clean. But I'm guessing that's just because you have less space to mess up. Now, another feature, we won't go up them quite yet, but I love about this house is these stairs. And Ben will not agree with me because he did fall down them once, which is why there is a dent in the paint over there. But they're pretty damn cute. Not overly practical, but...
Overly practical, they don't have a handrail, they are slippery as death, steep as all hell, and you have to walk them down backwards.
It's essentially a glorified ladder, guys. And the other bit, which actually we forgot to mention earlier, is this table. Let's quickly talk about the moonshine. So, last Christmas, if you guys remember, my 12 Days of Cosplay Christmas did not go as planned, and I didn't quite get all the videos out. And that is because I was doing a job in which I ran a market stall for O'Donnell Moonshine. So I essentially did 6 weeks straight with no days off running a market stall for them over at Blenheim Palace, and all of the taster jars that were left over I got to keep. So what we did is we kept some of the boxes as well. We've kept the jars, and like I've done with this one here, I'm going to make it so all of my button jars match, and it's just going to be super cute. And it also means that when we move, they're easily transportable because we have actual boxes for them. Now I will say that though all the boxes did come from the time when I was at the market stall, not all the jars did. We've actually been long-time customers of O'Donnell and absolutely love all of their drinks.
Disclaimer, we are not alcoholics.
So this table was given to us by a friend in New Zealand, and it's one of the things that we're definitely going to keep for like the rest of our lives. It's actually made from an old door, and you can still see the lock just there. It also has these lovely metal circles, which unfortunately we have removed down the centre of the table just because it made it a little bit impractical to use. When we're not using this table, it normally sits in the centre of the living room. We do put it up against the other table that's in the kitchen just to keep it out of the way. Most of the time when it's down, it's because we're playing D&D. Honestly, I think that's pretty much the only time we use it is D&D. But it's so good, we can't get rid of it, and we love having it here. The last bit of the downstairs area is this bit here. When we moved into the house, the one thing that I insisted we have was a full-length mirror so that I could look at what my costumes actually looked like on me without having to ask Ben's opinion or trying to squish into the bathroom. And after a lot of hovering around on Facebook, I got this one for free, and I'm actually very, very pleased with it. The other thing that I also got for free off the Facebook Marketplace is this crate here, which is where we keep all of our food, and also acts as a nice bench for if we just want to sit down and chill for a little bit. The bottom of it is actually totally cracked and ruined, but we don't need to know that because the food's all on top, and that's what matters. The first bit you need to know about our upstairs is the cat ramp. Now, if you can see on the wall just there, there's actually skid marks going down, and that is because when we first moved in, Girlie there, who is currently sat on the only other window we have in the house, she used to actually jump from that window down onto the sofa or the desk or just the floor, and she would ski down the wall, which we still need to clean off because it's been several months and we haven't actually got around to doing that yet. So what we did instead was we went on Facebook Marketplace and we got a couple planks and we nailed them together to make them nice and strong, and we've just put it across here so that rather than skiing down the wall, her and Charlotte can actually walk across and jump in and out the window at free will, because otherwise we'd have to let them in and out of the house, and well, as we discovered with Sherlock, he doesn't really like that and tends to leave the home for a month, which wasn't ideal. The other thing that we've got up here is all of the hanging rails. So we've got these big beams which hold up the ceiling, and we have a side each, though I have slightly invaded Ben's, I will be honest, where we essentially just hang up all of our clothes, dresses, things that we want to keep nice, and it is our only hanging space, and it only holds about 6 to 8 things on each side really. There's 3 hooks each. We also have this lovely big pokey pole which we use. There is a blind on this window and we have to hook this and then lean over the gap and scroll it to change the height of the blind, which I'm not going to do right now because if I do try it I will fall off.
We shall now continue the tour, guys, upstairs.
Come on up, come on, hurry up. Haven't got all day, dear. So this is our bedroom, which I can touch all the ceilings, and obviously head height is a little bit of an issue. Let's start with over here. We obviously have the cat ramp that I was just telling you guys about. Girlie Bear is currently observing her domain. Sherlock has just headed out for his midnight hunting session. We do have the banisters, which are a little bit more flexible than I would like, so I don't try to lean on them. But what we do is any clothes that we're wearing the next day, maybe we haven't fully worn them, we do hang them up there, and also towels and blankets to dry, because in winter when it's raining outside, we don't have a lot of indoor hanging space, so this is essentially also our drying rail, which tiny home life, guys. We then have this bookcase. I got this for free off Facebook Marketplace. If you haven't been able to tell, there is a very big theme of me hanging around Facebook trying to get free stuff because I'm cheap, I'm just going to admit it. These bottom drawers, which I think I've shown you guys in a video before, actually each drawer has a project in so that I can work on more than one project at once, because before I would only be able to work on one project at a time because I'd have to leave it out. Now I can work on up to 4 projects because they each have their own little drawer and can stay organised. And inside, which I will admit I'm not using too much at the moment, it's mostly for storage, is my little library, which is currently stuffed full. We have things like a hand sewing machine and some random crafty bits. I just put random shit in there, to be honest. I'm not gonna pretend that there isn't a reason it has doors. Next along we have this set of IKEA drawers. So me and Ben both have a set on either side, and because they're stacked it's perfect for the tilted roof. I actually access most of these drawers while standing on the stairs on the other side, and these carrier bags are because a friend of mine came to stay and then left half of her stuff here, which wasn't intentional, a lot of it was accidental. I've got a mixture of clothing, fabric, crafting stuff, and then along here all of these little boxes are all my clothes. So we have t-shirts, shirts, like button-up ones that I wear a belt with, jumpers, skirts, socks, leggings, pajamas, and then this last one is fabric. I have my backpack, some lace making stuff, which I'm going to try and do. I have this lovely vintage sewing tool, which I picked up at a flea market the other day. A couple shoe boxes, got my American Duchess shoes, because every girl needs a pair of American Duchess shoes. Of course, one of the proudest things I have at the moment, my cookbooks. I actually believe that I have a cookbook down in Ben's shelf, which is from the 1950s, and these cookbooks, I think they're in the right order, are from 1910, 1930, 1940,
That's right,
and 1960, and the one downstairs is from 1950. So all I need is a 1920s one, and I will have one cookbook for every decade. The books around it are just old reading books I'm going to read, and then I'm going to trade them into the book exchange or just donate them to a charity shop. We have whiskey. We then have a few more random books that are a bit too big, also some like documentation and scanning things, and also my printer and scanner. We then have the crate, which contains all of my waistcoats that I'm currently working on for my sewing through the seasons, and my laptop, which is just kind of sat on top of them. All my headbands are currently sat up here, and also my headphones. Now, the reason that my headphones are all sat up here is because my favorite place to edit my YouTube videos is in bed, and a lot of the time Ben will be downstairs watching TV or something, so it's just easier for me to wear headphones, and thus I keep them up here. Underneath the bed as well, we have all my puzzles and puzzle boards, along with several random ass bags, and then I suppose I should show you the bed. So guys, this is mine and Ben's bed. The Hogwarts patchwork quilt that I handmade Ben for Christmas a few years ago. I do need to make him another one, because width-wise it's good. Lengthwise, I definitely went too small when we actually turn it around and use it as a one-person quilt these days. We do also have this little quilted red blanket, which is Ben's, and I literally made it from scraps. We have our Onyx the Fluffy Dragon, who is one of my favourite toys, and he is extra soft and cozy, and we often just use him as an extra pillow. And our collection of jelly cats, dream catcher to keep away the bad dreams. Then I think we're on to Ben's side of the room.
which, by the way, has been invaded by Annabelle's stuff.
Yeah.
So as you can see, my side has been majorly invaded by Annabelle's, but there is a reason for this, because obviously I am leaving in the next few weeks. So most of my stuff is slowly but surely being faded out and packed away. Anyway, on my side I usually have a book. I have my standard chargers for both my watch and my phone, and sometimes my Kindle, depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Under my bed as well, I've got a lot of my bags that I use for work. I've got my crossbow and my compound bow, along with a few other practice swords and a few other things as well. They're all tucked underneath the bed. This corner is where I used to have my gaming station. So I used to have my PlayStation and my monitor and everything set up here before I finished my PC, because at the time I was always playing on my PlayStation instead of my PC. This box and this box are all filled with tech-related items. In these boxes are all my clothes. On top of that, I also have a box of memorabilia and other bits and pieces that I like to keep, which are just small little souvenirs I've picked up from all of our little trips and jaunts everywhere. Yeah, it does look like I don't live in this house, but I swear to God, it used to be a lot more busy than this. This box used to be a washing basket with a lid, and I didn't like the fact that we couldn't use it, but we saw it as kind of wasted space, so I ended up taking one of the side panels off when I had my PC up here, where I kept all my PlayStation and all of the games and all of my things underneath the screen. However, when I moved my station downstairs onto the desk, Annabelle ended up throwing her dressing gown in there one day, and we came home and Girly Bear was curled up in there, and ever since it has now been the cat bed. I then had my cargo blanket and I stopped using it, and I folded it up and put it up here, and Girly Bear started sleeping on top of that too.
Talk of the devil.
A few weeks back I threw, as you can see, the dressing gowns up there, as she is now showing us, and she decided that she would go up another tier. Poor Sherlock just happens to go wherever she doesn't go.
Also behind Ben is where I actually keep my dressmaker's dummy. Girly Bear, what do you think about living in a tiny home? Do you like it? Is it cozy? Okay Ben, when it comes to living and sewing and creating in a tiny home like we've had to do here, what do you think are the biggest challenges that we've had to overcome?
Having to convert everything that we've had, which was essentially designed for a 3-bedroom house, into a much smaller space. It's a lot harder to go from really big to really small than it is to go the other way around.
Well, it's just because you have so much stuff. Like even now, we've still got stuff stored at your mum's house in the attic, because we physically couldn't fit all of our stuff in here when we first moved in. And certainly like the free furniture and stuff is a great cost saving method, but it does mean that the furniture isn't necessarily the best that we could get for the space.
And that's another thing. Until we moved here, we had a dishwasher.
That's definitely been one of the biggest challenges, is having to actually wash the dishes by hand, especially because the sink we have here is so small, and for some reason it's round, which I don't mind, but it makes washing things so damn hard.
It also, because it's so small and because it is round, it makes an absolute mess every time we wash up.
No, I want to say that our house is really, really tidy today, which is why we decided to film this, because we have spent all day tidying. It is never normally this good, and if you watch my videos, you will know that. Actually, one thing that I've found that I've really had to adapt to is workspace and project planning wise, I can't cut out everything for a ginormous project and then just leave it to one side. I don't have the room for it.
No.
If I create a really big project, I need to have somewhere to store it. And it's one of the reasons why I haven't done a lot of big projects in the last year while we've been living here, is because genuinely, if I made a ball gown, I have no idea where I would store it.
The other thing that is a pet peeve for me is that I like having open spaces because it's a lot easier to keep a square room with very little in it clean than a room where essentially everything's a crack and crevice, which means that dust settles in the most awkward places, and to tidy it you have to like dismantle everything, and it
I think one really big problem as well is because all of downstairs is one room, including where we take our shoes off, it's very easy to come in through the front door and go, oh, I just need to grab this real quick, and it does, like, you traipse dirt across the house. And I found that not so much upstairs, but keeping the downstairs floor, like, we have to hoover really regularly. Whereas in the past, when we had the office, when we were at Ben's mum's house, or I had a sewing room when we had our 3-bedroom house in New Zealand, it was a case of I cleaned, but I always cleaned in between projects, and I only ever worked on one project at a time. And here, it's not possible because the space I'm using is a space that we use constantly every single day.
Everything.
That's the other thing, is privacy in this house. If I want to go downstairs and watch a movie while I work, Ben has to wear headphones if he comes upstairs. Essentially, whoever comes upstairs has to wear headphones because we have a balcony. It isn't 2 separate rooms. You can hear everything. At the end of the day, we chose this house because it was in a location that we liked and we wanted our own space. And I don't regret that choice, but certainly living here has been an experience.
The problem is that I don't live enough of a minimalistic life. Neither of us do. The problem is that this house was built for someone who is living a minimalistic life, and it would be perfect for them because essentially you could, this bed could just be a futon, which means that this opens up this entire area for much more space, and it looks much nicer.
The funny thing is, the last guy who lived here, when we were first examining the house, there was a little bit of his
only
furniture
lived
still
on the
left.
first floor.
And and he slept downstairs and essentially just used up here as like an attic storage space.
No, and from when his kids came to stay.
Yeah, this is true. And I certainly think that it's changed how we operate things. On the creative side of things, it's affected how we do projects, it's affected how we plan. I literally have to have like a filming video making schedule so that Ben can see what I'm doing and essentially work around it, which isn't ideal, but it also has meant that we communicate a lot more about what we're actually doing and what we're planning to do during the week.
For me, the cooking side was the one that frustrates me because I went from a fully set up kitchen where I could spread myself out across the kitchen and have multiple things going, and I could do quite complicated recipes and such and really have a bit of fun with it, to being incredibly efficient with how I make something. But I also don't like the fact that there's only 2 windows in this entire house.
Yeah,
like,
it does make it
whoever
very
built
dark.
it was silly, because what they should have done is put windows in the ceiling, and it wouldn't have been difficult to do either, and it would have just brightened up stairs so much more.
Overall, I think it's definitely been an experience. We have said in the future, when we eventually buy our own house, one thing we really want to do is have a separate office space, simply because the work-life balance when it comes to cosplay, at the end of the day, cosplay is supposed to be a fun thing. Yes, we earn a bit of money from it, but mostly it just all goes back into creating content. Having that no balance, like, I can't walk away and leave my cosplays, because if I walk away, all that happens is they get left on a desk and I stare at them panicking until they're done, because I don't like having things left out.
There's no separation from it anymore.
No, so I think definitely the idea in the future to have a separate office space or studio space
Agreed.
would definitely be high on the list, and also a workspace to do big projects, because Unfortunately, like I said, a lot of the projects we've had to do this last year have been very, very small. And it also means that Ben, who does more like armor making and woodwork and crafty type things like big Lego builds or dioramas, we haven't got the room to store them, let alone make them. At the end of the day, we are probably going to move on from here. I think it has been interesting. I don't think I would do it again unless it were for like a short-term holiday type thing.
I would never live in a tiny home again, just purely based on the fact that there is no separation from your work, your hobbies, or your life.
You snuggled. Well guys, that was a journey.
Indeed.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop it a like and subscribe if you want to see more. We are hoping to move soon, and I quite like doing little videos with all the different sewing spaces that we have. It's interesting, it's nice for us to look back on as well. If you have any comments or other storage suggestions, please do leave them in the comments down below. And otherwise, we will see you with our next video. We regularly post every single Wednesday with various cosplay, sewing, crafting, and apparently house tour videos. Until then, have a beautiful day.
Bye guys.